Hey everyone, it's Laura from Strategic Test Prep, and in this video I am breaking down my top 10 predictions for the November SAT. For those of you who don't know me, I am a test prep coach with 18 years experience. I've helped hundreds of students increase their SAT scores and hit their goals, and I scored a 1590 on the November test last year. I'm actually scheduled to take this November test as well, so I've been prepping right alongside you guys to get ready. Before we dive in, only 18% of you who have watched my channel regularly over the past month have subscribed. So if you appreciate what I'm doing when I come out with this free content every week to help you master the SAT, please show me some support and hit the subscribe button below. It only takes you 2 seconds and it won't cost you anything, and it will mean the world to me. Also, comment below with what score you're trying to land on the November test and what part of the test you're most nervous about. Your comments will help me come out with future content that is going to help you guys the most. Quick heads up, I'm running a 2-hour advanced review crash course for the November test this Saturday from 12 to 2 Eastern. It's going to be jam-packed with strategies and approaches for both the English and the math modules. So I will link up here so you can register for that now. Seats are limited, so grab yours as soon as you can. And no worries if you didn't watch this video till after the event occurred, you can always still register to purchase the recording and the notes. Also, last thing, we are giving away our SAT English workbook right now for free for a limited time. Just head to our website, strategictestprep.com. I'll link it up here. Subscribe to our newsletter and we will email you a copy. All right, let's get into the predictions. All right, my first prediction is that you will be able to do at least one regression with Desmos. The things that you want to look for to show you that you can run a regression are you need the equation, and you need at least 2 points. Now, just as a disclaimer, you need 3 points if you have a circle, but most of the time you just need 2 points. And this is a great candidate for Desmos. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to put the points into a table. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to type the equation in on a separate line. Now, the equation that they gave us is not an autoregression because the exponential function for an autoregression, let me show you. It actually has a multiplication sign between the values, and this one they provided us with has a plus sign. So we're going to have to manually enter in the equation. Here's how you do it. Instead of using h of x, we're going to use y1 because then it will pull from the table of values. Instead of an equal sign, I'm going to use a tilde. And then on the other side, I'm going to make sure when I put in an x, I call it x1, because then it will pull from the table. So this was the equation that they gave us. Now it's in regression form, and I can easily see my values for a and b are 3 and 3. So when I go back to the question, they said, what is the value of a times b? Well, it will be 9 because 3 times 3 is 9. All right, my second prediction is that you are going to have a modifier question on your test. I call these lead-ins because that's exactly what they are. It's basically an introduction to the sentence, and it's speaking on the subject or something about the subject. So you'll know you're on a modifier question because you're going to have long answer choices, even though it's a grammar question. So they're going to be long, and you're going to notice there's a blank right after this comma. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to read the intro and then determine what the subject needs to be because the subject is going to come next. So is the subject vegetables and grains? Is the subject diets? Because listen, in answer choice B, if medieval rulers is a possessive, they're owning the diets. So the diets is actually the subject there. Is it the primary components or is it the findings? Well, let me read the modifier and then I can determine that. It says, supported by biochemical analysis of over 2,000 skeletons from the Middle Ages. Well, what would be supported by analyses? Findings are supported by analyses, so I'm going to go with D. the other options don't make sense and don't match the modifier. All right, guys, if you're finding this video helpful so far, show me some love, hit the like button below. All right, my third prediction is that you're gonna have a difficult trig problem. And I think that this one is difficult for students because you actually have to set up the equation yourself. So basically the question says, which expression represents the length of line segment EF? Okay. So we need to know the length of line segment EF. That's what we're trying to find. I'm going to call that X for right now. Now, you can tell from all the answer choices that the reference angle they're using is that 75-degree angle. So that means we're going from this angle right here. So we have adjacent and hypotenuse. Well, what's adjacent and hypotenuse? That's cosine. So since cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, I'm not going to use the sine trig function, so I'm getting rid of C and D right off the bat. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up my equation. So I'm going to say cosine of 75 degrees equals adjacent over hypotenuse. Now I've got everything set up and I'm good to go. I will multiply both sides by x. So now I have x cosine 75 equals 9, and then I just need to divide by cosine 75 to get x by itself. So that's why the answer is going to be B. Just a quick tip, if you're not sure, you forget how to set up the equation in your test, go with the option that has a fraction. I see that's usually the right one, not the one where it's multiplying. All right, my fourth prediction is that one of the options that's going to be correct is going to be the ing verb. And that is going to be on module 2, somewhere between number 18 and 22. So you can make a little note of that, number 18 to 22. You're going to have this ing come up as the right answer. So when we take a look at it, let's just see why in this case it's the ing. I'm going to start actually after the comma, just because I already know that the first part isn't going to help us with it, but for you, you'd probably want to read the whole sentence to start. But we have whose work, blank, the impact of Sanchez's experiments and the scientist's historical importance to the field of molecular biology encourages a broader rethinking of genetics research itself. The verb is encourages. So the work, which is the subject here, it encourages a broader rethinking. So if the subject is all the way up there and the verb, what it's doing is all the way down there, that means all this stuff in between is just describing more about the work. We don't need a full-on verb that's going to compete with the actual verb encourages. So we're just going to pick explaining. Whose work explaining the impact of Sanchez's experiments encourages a broader rethinking. Okay, so if it's a phrase that's describing more about the subject, and the verb is down after it, pick the ing. All right, my fifth prediction is that you're going to have a hard geometry problem that's dealing with special right triangles. This one's pretty popular. The perimeter of a right isosceles triangle is 52 plus 52 root 2. If this is on module 2 and it's number 15, 16, 17, it's not going to be as easy as you think. So please don't just go, oh, the answer is 52. It's not, because let's think about the ratios of this special right triangle. It's a right isosceles, so we have S, S, and S radical 2. If you don't remember that, you can go to the reference table. So in Bluebook, up in the right-hand corner, you can click on reference table. It will show you the ratios of the sides of an isosceles triangle. So if we set up an equation, they're saying the perimeter, that would be S plus S root 2 equals 52 plus 52 root 2. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that equation into Desmos, and I'm just going to change the S's to X's so that it can throw up a graph and show me where the solution's at. Okay. So as you can see, my solution is at 36.76955. Well, I don't see that in the answer choices. So If there were answer choices and they had roots in them, you could type each answer choice in on the next line till you get a decimal to match. This one is a grid-in or a free response question. So what you're going to do is you're going to give them the answer out to 5 spaces. So we have 36.77 because we're going to round the last digit and the decimal takes up 1 spot. So you're going to fill in 36.77 and that would be your answer on the test. Make sure you fill in all the spaces if you have a crazy decimal that's not terminating, and round the last digit and you'll get it right. If you round prematurely and they didn't ask you to, they will mark it wrong. So if you put 36.8, that's wrong. So take it all the way out till you can't fit anymore. All right, my 6th prediction is that you're going to have a grammar question where only one option can separate 2 complete sentences. And if that's the case, 90% of the time it's the right one. So when I look at these 4 options, I see that only one of them can separate 2 complete sentences. So I'm leaning towards that one. What I would recommend is that you read both sides. So read the first side before the period, then read the second side just to confirm you have 2 complete sentences. In this case, you do, so that can verify your answer. But most of the time, if there's only one option that can separate 2 complete sentences, that's the right one. All right, my 7th prediction is that you're going to have some kind of word problem about an object launched in the air. This is a problem dealing with quadratics because the object is going to go up, hit a maximum, and come back down. College Board loves these types of questions. What's really cool is you can use Desmos and run a regression to solve these. You just have to be savvy enough to recognize the 3 points on the function. So this one says, a quadratic function models the height and feet of an object above the ground in terms of time and seconds after the object was launched. According to the model, the object was launched from a height of 8 feet and reached a maximum height of 1,800 feet 16 seconds after it was launched. Okay, if the function models the height, that means height is y, because that's going to be f of x. And then if it's in terms of time and seconds, seconds is your x. So the first point that we have is if it starts from a height of 8 feet, we're going to be at 0 seconds and 8 feet off the ground. Then they told us that the maximum height is at 1,800 feet 16 seconds after it was launched. So our next point is going to be at 16, 1,800. Now, what's really neat is if you're savvy enough to recognize that that's the vertex, well, the other 0, right, is going to be like 16 is halfway between 0 and another number. So your other 0 is going to be at 32 seconds because 16 is your axis of symmetry. So it's directly in between 0 seconds and 32 seconds. So if it hits the highest point at 16, it's going to come back down at 32 seconds. It'll be back to the starting point, which was 8 feet off the ground. Now we have 3 points. For a quadratic, if you just have the zeros and the vertex, you do need 3 points. We're going to put them into Desmos and run a regression. Okay, now I'm going to run an auto regression because they told us it was a quadratic. Now, what the question asked for was, they said, what's the height at 24 seconds? So I'm going to make x 24, and then what I want to do is I want to see where it intersects. So I'm going to hit this home button, and then I'm going to zoom out, and I want to see where that green line hits the parabola. So I'm going to kind of hover. There's my intersection point. So the answer is 1,352. All right, my next prediction is that you're going to have a problem that's dealing with scalar multiples of different dimensions. College Board is loving this concept, so it's important to recognize, are you in a 2-dimensional form? Are you in a 3-dimensional form? And adjust your scalar multiple accordingly. Let me show you what I mean here. They said rectangle ABCD is similar to rectangle WXYZ. Well, start by drawing a picture. That's going to be super smart. So I have A, B, C, D, and then maybe this one's bigger because they're similar, so they're not congruent. W, X, oops, I'll put X where B is, X, Y, Z. Says the area of rectangle ABCD is 486 square units. Oh, I made them opposite. Sorry, the WXYZ should have been smaller. Figure not drawn a scale. Just go with it. So the area of this one is 486. The area of this one is 54. Cool. Area is two-dimensional, so we have to keep that in mind, but we can compare the areas and find the scalar multiple in a two-dimensional form. So I basically want to know, okay, what do I need to multiply 54 by to get 486? So let me just go to Desmos and just do 54 times the number equals 486. So the answer is 9. So that means that this rectangle right here is 9 times bigger. So if the area is 9 times bigger, we need to square root the 9 to know the actual scalar multiple, which is 3. That means each length of each side is 3 times bigger than the other rectangle. So then they said, what is the length? Oh, they said the length of the longest side of ABCD is 27 units. Well, that's 3 times bigger than the other rectangle. So I'm just going to divide it by 3. So that means the length of the other rectangle is 9. So we started with a two-dimensional scalar multiple. We took the square root of it to get it to a one-dimensional scalar multiple. So then we could compare the lengths of the sides. Sometimes they might go with volume, where you have to recognize it's three-dimensional and then cube it or cube root it. So just be ready to move between dimensions and use the right scalar multiple. All right, my 8th prediction is that they're going to use semicolons to separate items in a list. I heard on the last test, their question about this was a little funky, so I tried to pick one that was also a little funky. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at this question. And there's a little bit of parallelism involved here because, you know, the first thing I'm noticing is we do have a semicolon with an and. That tells me they're using semicolons to separate items in a list. So I know I'm going to need an option that has a semicolon in it, which makes me want to cross off C and D right away. But with A and B, they put the semicolons in different spots. So now it's a matter of looking at the other list items and making sure all the list items are worded the same way, which is called parallelism. So when I read this, it says a university offers a range of interdisciplinary courses in the following fields: environmental science, which focuses on climate change and conservation efforts; cognitive neuroscience, which examines brain functions and behavior; and urban studies, which explores city planning. I see what they're doing is they're listing the thing and then explaining more about it. They're listing the thing and then explaining more about it. So I want to list the thing and then explain more about it before I put my semicolon. So the answer is going to be B. All right, my 9th prediction is that they're going to give you an equation and talk about the number of solutions to the equation. So this one has a constant in it, which is a sign that using Desmos is going to be awesome. It says in the given equation, K is a positive integer if the given equation has exactly one solution. Okay. So first things first, I would break this up into Desmos and put this side on one line and this side on the other. Because if it has exactly one solution, I want those two lines to cross at one point. So if they say, what cannot be the value of K? Well, I'm looking for a time where K makes it so that they don't cross at all. All right, so I have the two equations in, and what's amazing is they gave me 4 options for K, so I'm just going to test them out. Check this out, guys. When I put 17 in for K, they become parallel lines where they don't cross at all. So I already know A is the right answer because K cannot be 17 because then there will not be one solution. All right, my last and final prediction is we had a couple really tough English tests. Actually, 3. August, September, and October. Most students said the English tests were super, super difficult. I took the November test last year, and in my experience, it was a fair test. It felt like it trended a little bit easier slash fair compared to some of the other tests. So my prediction is this November is also going to be an easier, fair test. So if you're not signed up for November and you're open to it, I think that this is going to be a great test to take. So I'm really looking forward to it. So fingers crossed it goes well. Like I said, I'm going to take this test in a couple of weeks or maybe less than a week. I don't know when you're watching this video. But I will do a tutor reaction video after the test to break down what I saw, what I noticed, what I learned. I'm really excited for that. Make sure you guys join me there. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, type in the comments below perfect score, because if you stuck it out to the end with me, you guys are a perfect score in my heart. All right, until next time, guys, happy prepping.